Okay, so I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm super pumped up, fired up, super excited to be on this call today. So I want everyone to come off mute because they say that the audience makes the speaker. So let's let Corey feel and hear the energy. So come off mute, everyone, real quick.
Hey, before we start, who's that guy in the green?
Woohoo!
Say that again, Moses.
Before we start, who's the guy in the green there?
The yellow?
Yellow, yeah, yellow.
I know. I haven't been around lately.
All right, I'm gonna try that again. Corey, do you think that was a lot of energy, or do we need some more energy?
Gosh, it sounds like the sellers that I spoke to today that all expired off the market.
Oh my gosh.
That's how they.
All
that's
right,
how they
let's
act.
try it again. I know we got some Denny Grimes agents on, so I want everyone to come off speaker and let Corey know what kind of energy and how excited you guys are to be on the call today.
Whoa.
Woo! Hey, woo, Corey!
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
So it's awesome to be among great agents who are willing to share their success, who work hard, who work consistent, and who are just all around great examples to the industry. So Corey, we welcome you. Real quick, by a show of hands, who's ever gone on a listing appointment or two or three to get through the whole presentation, and then the seller says at the end, we decided we didn't want to sell? Anyone ever gone on an appointment like that, right? Or come back in 6 months? That's exactly what Corey's going to go over today. He's going to help you qualify the appointment before you go on it. And then after that, he's going to answer some seller objections. So Corey, welcome. And we're going to get this training started. So I need one volunteer to be the seller. Who wants to be the seller today?
I know who that's going to be.
No sellers? Jeff.
Looks like
okay,
Giovanna's got her
thank you.
hand raised.
Looks like Whitney raised her hand.
Okay. We'll do both. So I have one question for you, Corey.
Okay.
Are you alive, excited, and full of energy?
100%. Happy, happy, happy. Phones make me money. They're home. They're happy. They're ready to list with me. You name it. Let's go.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to let you take it away from here. And is Whitney, are you the one that's going to be the seller right now first?
I missed the beginning of whatever was happening. Someone just called me out, but I'll be the seller. Is there?
All right, we'll let Jeff do
specific?
it first, and then you can go next.
Okay. So
All right,
you want me to just go, Sonny? Yeah. So let me just set this up. I'm assuming that most of you are kind of familiar with what I'm doing, right? But so I set an appointment through whatever, for sale by owner, just listed, just sold. It doesn't really matter. Depending on the length of the call, generally right before I hang up, I say, hey, before I come out, I'm going to have some, some questions that I have for you. Is now a good time to ask, or should I call back later? And I generally gauge that on how long I've been on the phone, because sometimes if it takes me 10, 15 minutes to set an appointment, I want to get off the phone just as much as they do, right? Everybody can hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. So I set an appointment with Whitney, right? And so I'm going to call Whitney back, and I'm going to say, so ring.
Hello?
For Jeff.
Yeah. Hi,
Whitney.
Yeah, Jeff's going, right? This time?
Oh, it's Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff's going the first time.
Okay. Are you guys married?
No, we're divorced.
Okay. So ring.
Hello?
Yeah. Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
Hey, Jeff, Corey Lauer, Keller Williams here in the area. Hey, listen, before I come out, I mentioned there was a number of questions I needed to ask so I could be professionally prepared for our appointment. Do you have about 5-10 minutes for me, Jeff?
Right now I do, Corey. Yeah, I've got about 15
Okay.
minutes.
Awesome. So Jeff, if what I say makes sense and you feel completely comfortable, totally confident that I can sell your home, is there any reason why we can't move forward when I come see you Friday at 5?
I don't think so at this point. I mean, if everything works out and I like the numbers and you know, my wife's happy. Yeah. My new wife.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome, awesome. Now you're not planning on interviewing any other agents for the job of selling your home, are you?
Well, actually, I do have one other agent I'm meeting Thursday evening.
Okay. And Jeff, would it be helpful if I was able to bring the track record for myself versus the other agent as well, so you could make an educated decision on that?
I'm sure. Do you know the other agent?
Well, tell me who it is. I'll be glad to bring both of our stats.
Oh,
Who are you meeting with, Jeff?
It's Drew Swirsky.
Drew Swirsky. Okay. And he's with Remax, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Jeff, tell me again, where are you moving to?
We're moving to Tampa.
Tampa. Okay. And if you could map this whole, I'm sorry, sir.
I'm a big Tom Brady fan, so.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. It's hard not to be on board with that guy. If you could map this whole thing out on your timeline, Jeff, how soon do you have to be there?
You know, I'd actually like to be there in time for the playoffs. So, you know.
Okay, so we're looking at what?
Holidays.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Jeff, when I see you on Friday at 5, how much do you want to list your home for?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I thought that's kind of what you do, but I mean, I've seen them listed in the 575 to about 650 price range. So I'm hoping somewhere on the higher end of that.
Okay, so 625, 650, somewhere in that range is kind of what you're thinking. Okay, you know, as a professional real estate agent, Jeff, I study homes and prices every single solitary day. Therefore, I'll assume you'll list with me at a price that'll cause your home to sell, not sit on the market, correct?
Well, yeah, I definitely want to get it sold so I can, you know, get moving.
Okay, so what price won't you go below?
Well, I mean, based on what I've seen and the houses selling, I don't think I'd want to go anywhere below 600. I mean, I'd love to stay over 625 just to get that.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
Extra money to cover your commission, I guess.
Sure. So at 600,000, anything less than that just causes you not to sell, correct?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't think I could at that point.
Okay. If I brought you a cash buyer, 585,000 closing in 15 days, no contingency, would you consider that 585?
I mean, I'd have to run the numbers, but I guess I consider it.
Okay. So
Since you
keep an
wouldn't
open
have to do
mind.
as much work,
Pardon
would
me?
you, since you didn't do as much work, would you be able to like maybe lower your commission in a situation like that?
Well, sure. Well, here's the good thing, Jeff, because the price comes down, my commission comes down just the same, right? So how much do you owe on the property?
We owe like 490.
490,000. Okay. So you've got a substantial amount of equity there that we've got to protect, right?
Yes. That's
Yeah.
right.
Ever thought about selling the property on your own?
No, I have no desire to put the energy and effort into that. Wouldn't even give it a thought.
Yeah. That's why you have me coming on, right?
That's right.
Awesome. Awesome. Can you do me a favor, Jeff? I'm looking here online, but I'm sure the pictures that I have aren't going to do your home justice. Can you describe your home for me, please?
Yeah, well, you can probably see there, it's, you know, you have the record that's, you know, 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, colonial style.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got that wide plank ceramic tile that looks like wood on the whole main level. You know, that's nice, dog friendly. We've got hardwood going up the stairs into all the upper levels, all like nice wide plank hardwood, lighter color. Neutral light paint colors throughout the house. We repainted everything last year. So we kind of modernized the look of that. We weren't really planning to move, but so we did some nice updates. Fully updated kitchen about 3 to 4 years ago. Quartz and high-end range and hood. Brand new Trex deck about 5 years ago. And we replaced the roof and the heating and air conditioning system. We did both of those in the last 8 to 10 years. So pretty nice updated house.
Wow, it sounds amazing.
Built in 85.
Yeah, I have that. It really sounds incredible. I'm super looking forward to seeing it on Friday. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely perfect, how would you rate your home?
I don't know if I'd give it a 10, but I'd certainly give it an 8 based on houses in the neighborhood.
Okay. So what makes it a 10, Jeff?
I think it would be a 10 if we had the larger kind of flat backyard. Ours kind of, is a small backyard that slopes up a hill. It's treed and up a hill. So low maintenance, but, not much usable yard space. And our 2-car garage doesn't, a lot of the houses have the kind of the loft over the 2-car garage. Ours, where it was located, we couldn't do that. So we're missing that. And the only other thing I would say is if in an ideal world, I would have had because of the hill, we don't have a walkout basement in the back. It's a walk up.
Okay.
But outside of that, I'd say, those are the things that would make it a 10 for me.
I appreciate you being honest. Jeff, before we get together, I'm going to send over a packet of information. Will you take a few minutes and look at it before I arrive?
Sure. When will I get that?
I'm going to email it to you here shortly after we hang up. Okay. So if you could just take 10 or 15 minutes to look at it, it'll drastically cut down the amount of time that I'll have to inconvenience you when I come over on Friday. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
So I've been doing pretty much a good majority of the talking here. Jeff, any questions for me before I arrive, excuse me?
Is there anything particular you need to see or that I need to have ready on
if you could just have a key ready and maybe a copy of a survey if you have it, that's really all I'm going to need, right? And so our appointment really should only take between 25 and 35 minutes with paperwork. So I really look forward to seeing you Friday at 5 o'clock.
Okay, is that the survey you're going to send me over? Is that what you're referring to?
No, a survey of your plot, a plat survey of the property. If you have one available, that would be helpful.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Cool.
Right, thank you.
Awesome. My pleasure. Look forward to seeing you Friday. Thank you.
So all right, that's interesting. So that was probably about 10 or 12 minutes. Would that be accurate, you guys? So let's talk in terms of Jeff. You played that really well. Actually got very descriptive. I almost interrupted you to say, okay, this is just a role play. Or you're doing such a good job of being the seller. Let me just, before we go on, let me open it up to the rest of you guys. And what questions do you have? I made a lot of notes here about the process he went down. What kind of ahas do you have? What kind of questions do you have that we can ask Corey? Because he didn't wing this. He's following some sort of a model. He probably has it in front of him, or he already has this little list, of questions ready, which is a great tip, you guys. So when you're going through that process, just like a doctor, an exam, they're following a system. So who has a question about what just happened? Brian, I know you do. Come on. And what happened? You get rid of your bedroom or you just get a curtain where we can't see that your bed is made?
Moses has got a question, Denny.
Moses, what's your question? And Giovanni, or Gio, you.
I've never experienced anything have a key ready and a plat survey.
Well, awesome. You know what that is called? That's called an assumptive close, right? So that's a good nugget. Yes, Gio, you had a question.
I had a question. Why ask them to describe the house when you're going to the house?
All right, I wrote that down. A good question. Go ahead, Corey.
Well, Jeff kind of played right into exactly what I needed him to do, but I'm assuming we're all aware of the 4 personality styles, right? And one of the reasons, the main reason that you asked that question is so that you can figure out what kind of personality style Jeff is, so that when I go meet him in person, I can present to that, right? If he would have said it's a 4-3, 2,600 square foot, built in 1985, then I pretty much know that I'm walking in there with a guy that's a driver personality. He doesn't want a whole lot of fluff, and quite honestly, wants what's it going to sell for? How long is it going to take? What you going to do out the door? Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Right? So that's the primary question for the primary reason for asking that question, excuse me.
And if you guys have any, that's a great explanation of the question. If you guys have any, if you don't have an understanding of whether or not you're a DISC, if when Jeff, as the seller, was going through that, if you felt like taking a spoon and poking your eyes out, that means you're a driver. Because I was.
You're mute.
Mute.
Denny, you're muted.
Oh, man. Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened there.
That must have been really important.
Start over. We didn't hear anything after you poked your eyes out.
I said that was a great explanation. Now, again, if you're not familiar with a DISC, let me just give you a little tip. If you felt like taking a spoon and poking your eyes out when Jeff was going through the description of the home, that means you're a driver, bottom line, because I was going nuts, like, oh my gosh. And if I would have been the seller, I would have said, hey, look, you can get the information on tax rolls. We can talk about it when you're here. I would not have had the patience as a seller. So, however, notice you should be finding ways to figure out personality styles so you know basically what tune to sing the song in. So that's an excellent question, Stacy, and an excellent answer, Corey. Although I was ready to poke my eyes out. Keep going.
I only asked him one question. He's the one that chose to go on and on and on.
I got it. You know what? and so what if I'm getting paid to be patient, guess what? I'll be patient if I'm the agent. So we get paid to be the other personality. What other questions you have? There's a couple of things that are really glaring.
I have a question.
Yes.
The question about interviewing other agents, I get why you'd want to ask that, but when you went on to like get their name and say, can I bring you information? So as a newer agent, I mean, is that risky? I mean, one, I'm assuming you're going to show up with a bunch, some data, some statistics to compare you to this other agent. I mean, what if the other agent is a mega agent or their stats are better than yours, or, you know, how would you deal with, I mean, would you ask that question in all circumstances?
Okay, so you can answer that. So are you following a pre-printed type of thing, Corey, that you might have in front of you, or it's kind of, you already got it engraved? I'm guessing you have a format in front of you.
I'm not reinventing the wheel here, guys. This is a Mike Ferry pre-qualification script that I learned 10 years ago, right? I'm not currently doing this with Stacy, but with previous assistants, right, that I've had, they wouldn't give me my listing documents if I didn't hand them this filled out, right? I need to get back in the habit of doing that with Stacy. But so there's 12 questions on here. I only asked 11 because he had a big mortgage. Otherwise, I would have asked him if he'd be willing to do owner financing. But to answer your question, and I'm sorry I didn't catch her name.
It's Gailey.
Haley?
Gailey with the G, yeah.
Gailey, hi Gailey. So, look, if I went up against Denny, I'm not real quick to bring out my track record because it doesn't even hold water compared to that. But there's all kinds of other reasons that you can use it. There's a couple agents in my market who are notorious for taking a boatload of listings and then they either get withdrawn or terminated because they're not a great agent and they make their seller so mad. So when I find out who I'm going up against, I'm just finding the angle. Stacy loves me to say that. I'm just finding the angle that I can use to my benefit. If I was a brand new agent and you were going up against a mega agent, you might bring the list of 50 other listings that mega agent has versus the one listing that you have and say, how much work and effort do you think that this other agent's going to be able to put into your listing when he's got 50 other people that he needs to make happy? Lucky for you, you're my only listing.
So the interesting thing here, and here's the aha moment for everyone, and Corey, great explanation, is that if they've already selected another agent and they've selected you, can you change that? You know who you're playing. Like last night, the Saints knew that they were playing the Seahawks. So the question really is, do you want to know before you go so you can plan your strategy, or do you want to walk in blind? Probably knowing who you're playing and watching game film on and find the chink in the armor. And so even the Denny Grimes type people have a chink in the armor relative to you. I used to play a game with my daughters when they were younger. And I would say, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a pickup truck, or do you want to be a sports car? And the reason I kept asking them that question is, what is the right answer? Well, if you're going on your first date, well, that may not matter anymore. If you're hauling hay for your horses, well, the answer is it depends. If you're hauling hay, a pickup truck is good. If you're going out and you just want to drive the Pacific Coast Highway in a convertible, then maybe you want to be a sports car. So the analogy is the Denny Grimes of the world, and I'm only using that because Corey did, would be considered a battleship, and you may be a newer agent, so you are basically a speedboat. What is your advantage over the big dog? And there, like Corey said, there's always one. And I've got 40 listings, you have 3 or 1 or 0, then you can give them full-time attention. So that's an interesting point. Keep going. I want to know how well you're listening, because there's other things here that I'm going to ask the questions if you don't. So keep going.
I've got one.
I have a question.
All right, go ahead, Dina, and then we'll go to you, Al.
Hey, Corey, why did you ask them about selling on their own?
Good question.
An objection you have to handle.
Well, yeah. I ask them because some of them will just flat out say, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm really considering it. And if he would have said, yes, I'm considering it, I would have said, all right, so what's going to be the determining factor? Maybe it's price, maybe it's something else. But if you don't ask, right? I don't know how many of you have ever been on a listing appointment where, you find out they just basically were using you for the price.
Ha 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 ha. Anybody? Yes. Now you feel really confused, right? Al Baxter, go ahead.
Yeah, Corey, I had a question for you. When he mentioned he had another agent coming in on Thursday, you asked who it was, but why didn't you try to get in there sooner?
I've never really been too hung up on the time, right? Is try to be the first or the last or that sort of thing. But you're right, Al. I probably should have said something at least to the effect, hey, Jeff, one last thing before I let you go. Because this is such a big decision for you and because you've got so much equity tied up here, can I just have a promise from you, Jeff, that, before you decide on an agent, will you at least give me a chance to come out and present, right? Most people are pretty good on their word, but you're right. I missed that. So thanks for pointing that out.
That was
I
a
have a
good
question.
Go ahead.
Based on keeping with the agent, I'm not sure if I missed this, but would you not ask what they were looking for in an agent, seeing that they were going to interview somebody else? Like, what are you looking for to get from an agent in order to make that decision?
I think that's a great question, right, Denny?
Yeah, I wrote down when I always ask them if they're interviewing, the follow-up question I go with.
What are you looking for?
Yeah, what criteria are you going to use to make a decision? Now, I think that question would be a good inserted question. So just role play this with me, Jeff. I'm going to go back to you and I'm going to use kind of Corey's. I don't have every step down, but I'm going to use, all right, so let me ask you, so are you going to be interviewing other agents? You've got another appointment on Thursday, Jeff. So what criteria are you going to use to select the agent to represent you?
It's important to me that they communicate effectively. I need somebody that listens, and I need somebody that I feel like really cares about, my wife and I and our goals more than a commission check.
Now, see, what I'm doing is that's kind of blah, blah, blah stuff, right? However, it's a very real answer. How do you qualify that? How can you compare how good of a listener you are? Blah, blah, blah. So all right, I understand. I tell you what, is experience and a track record important to you?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, I just set him up for Corey's question. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you let me help you out? How about if I run a track record report between me and the person you interview, and then you can have something tangible to compare. What agent are you interviewing with? You see how I just set that question up a little bit differently. And it appears a little bit more like I'm doing it for them, when really, you're doing it to help yourself. So Corey, what do you think of that?
There's all kinds of different ways that you can kind of maneuver through, maneuver through the contract. So at times, based on the rapport that I'm kind of building with the people, I might have those additional questions. Again, I've already spoke to them once before and set the appointment. So I might have already had some of those conversations. So in this particular instance, having just done this one time with Jeff, I didn't really know where to go or how even this role play was going to work. So, but I've got little nuances that I add in there for sure.
Isn't it also,
Go ahead.
hey, Denny, isn't it also like, some of that would be the listing presentation? You don't would you necessarily want to ask so many questions on that phone call that it's.
Denny?
Yeah.
May I answer?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, he's asking you.
Okay, well, again, I follow a 5-step listing process, right? So I set the appointment, then I pre-qual, right? Then I send the pre-listing packet. Then I call back to confirm that they've received the information and they took a look at the information, which then allows me to draw out additional objections that they might have, right? And in the 20-some years that I've done this, I can honestly tell you that there's been at least a half a dozen times when I do this correctly that I knock on the door for my listing appointment and they hand me the folder and say, we've filled everything all out. We're ready to just go. Can we get started?
Yes, that's right. That's awesome. So we're going to wrap this up. If there's a burning question out there really quick, and then we can go into the second part. I guess maybe, I don't know what you have prepared, Corey. Maybe it's going to be the presentation at the table. Or
no, this was really all. Again, this was kind of really all that I had.
Okay.
I just figured everyone would probably want to dissect, more of these questions. So,
all right. Who has another follow-up question before I go down my list real quick, and then we can get some other people involved. Corey, I'll let you. Well, let's just move forward. So, who has another question based on?
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Corey, when you said when you were wrapping it up, and you used the word to inconvenience you when I come out to your home. I was just wondering why you said inconvenience, because I feel like that's like a negative word.
I could have used just about any word really, but at the end of the day, and I'm sorry, your first name is
T. As a
T?
letter T.
Yeah. I'm just under the impression, T, that everyone's really, really busy, and probably the last thing that you want to have is me sitting at your house for 2 hours. So I'm just trying to set the tone that, hey, look, let's go through this information, because quite honestly, guys, if I'm there more than 45 minutes after I've knock on the door, take a look at the home, give my presentation, get the paperwork signed, if I'm there beyond 45 minutes, the chances of me walking out with that listing drops drastically. I want to get in and get out. So I'm just kind of setting the table like, look, your time's valuable, my time's valuable. Let's get going here.
Awesome. Anything else really quick?
Thank you.
All right. Here's a couple notes I've written down that you may want to layer on any of this stuff. I found the way you phrased the question, and Tom and Mike Ferry have been doing it for thousands of years with thousands of agents. You asked the question, you're not planning on interviewing other agents. It was more of a statement. Now, I don't know if he has designed that question to be more of a negative subliminal plant, saying, and kind of a hypnotist, you are not planning on, which I think is a little bit of a bunk thing. However, that's interesting on the way you asked the question. I asked, by the way, are you considering interviewing other agents? I asked the question outright. Not good, not bad. I'm just saying I asked the question. I found the way that he's worded it interesting. Then you notice he went into motivation. Then my pen ran out of ink. I don't know what I wrote because I had to go get a new pen. And I love the question. Again, he went into pricing and protecting the equity. I love that. Then you ask the question differently, and this has already been brought up on the call. Have you thought about selling on your own? I'm curious why, because I'm working on listing. I don't know how many of you guys picked up the differences between that question and the question he asked earlier about interviewing other agents. He said, you're not planning on interviewing other agents. All right. However, when it came to selling on his own, he could have said to follow suit, you're not thinking about going unassisted, are you? However, he asked the question the way a normal question would be. I find that curious. And so I don't know if that's just the way Ferry scripts are, or is that what right off the
That's
sheet?
that's just what the script says, Denny.
Okay.
You taught me a couple of weeks ago that unassisted seller, and I just absolutely love that.
All right. Okay. So describe your home, please. I wrote that down. Like I'm thinking, okay, interesting. And then Corey's already answered that. He wants to find out a little bit more style. 1 to 10, give the condition of your home. Again, probably, I'm guessing, Corey, if you would have found I'm a D, you may have skipped some of these questions and held them to the appointment. Would that be accurate?
Well, I always like to ask that additional question on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Because if Jeff would have said without any hesitation, well, it's a 10, then I know that I'm going in there to a know-it-all. I'm going to present to someone that's just an absolute know-it-all. He's super duper proud of his home. And if I go in there with anything lower than that $650,000 number that he mentioned earlier, I'm going to have a fight on my hands. Right. Okay. So I asked that on a scale of 1 to 10 because, he basically said not much, but then he gave 3 or 4 things. And I'm from Ohio, so I know what a walkout is, but here we don't have too many walkouts. But there's 3 or 4 things that he mentioned that I'm going to turn around and use against him when it comes down to pricing. Like if he would have said, well, I guess it's probably not the greatest thing that I back up to the city dump. Well, then I'm going to probably use that against him or in my presentation when we talk about pricing.
Yeah. Well, the moral of the story is this, guys, if you've got a client that is willing to share and without getting into his baby pictures and his grandchildren, he's willing to talk to you on the phone, an extra 5 minutes on the phone versus it helps you. You're getting more information. So Jeff, you were a very cooperative seller. Last 2 points. I love how you end the last 2 things. Did anybody take notes on the last 2 things of how he ended? And I think it's a way we should always end. Did anybody write it down?
So I've been doing pretty much the majority of the talking, Mr. Seller. I just want to make sure that you have or that I answer any questions you may have.
That is beautiful, Mark. Your way to take good notes. Whenever you're with a customer service representative, again, being a D, it almost drives you nuts. They help you with the thing. And then what do they always say? Is there anything else I can help you with? So he gave then Jeff the opportunity to ask questions. Awesome. All right. The last thing he did, which I love. Does anybody remember that?
Ease.
Well, okay, yes. Now, again, I love that assumptive close, yes. And then, so that might have been the next to the last thing. I might be wrong. There's one more thing he did before he hung up.
He set all the expectations. He basically closed it and said, my appointment will only take about 20 to 35 minutes for the paperwork.
Yes. That's right. He set an expectation that there's not going to be a Gilligan 3-hour tour listing presentation, right? The ideal listing presentation should be inside 30 minutes. I know Tony from our team, he's a talker and he's very successful. I think he takes more time than that. However, not only did he set a parameter, which should have made me as a D feel good, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to be here 3 hours. Listen to this guy. It said we can get taken care of the paperwork. Now, I'll give you this. I'll throw this back at you, and anybody can throw an objection at any point of this and be different than Jeff, because Jeff was playing nice. So, all right, so I'll be the first one. So get your objection ready on any of the points of his deal. Let's just see how he'd handle it. Well, hey, listen, I'm not, hey, I understand you can, this is not a paperwork meeting, Corey. So I'm not going to be signing today.
Okay, I completely understand that, Denny. I mean, if you're not completely comfortable that I can sell your home and totally confident, you have my permission to pick me up and throw me right out the door, sir.
All right, awesome.
You're off the hook, right? You're off the hook, no pressure.
Yeah, he's not going to beat me up over the phone, right? Again, he's right. Okay, now, all right. Who wants to? Brian, I know you're dying to get in here, and you be a seller and push back on something. Let's see how he handles it.
Are we over the phone or are we?
Well, yeah, you're still on the phone.
Yeah, we're still on the phone.
Yep.
You look like a pretty big dude, Brian. I'm not knocking on your door just yet.
Yeah, Corey, I kind of considered selling it myself. I just want to see what your thoughts are about the market in my house.
So what I'm hearing you say is you're still on the fence on whether or not you're going to sell the property on your own. Yes.
Yeah. I'm considering selling myself.
Unassisted,
So what?
Corey.
Yeah. So what's more important to you, Brian? Selling the property on your own or netting the most amount of money?
Making the most amount of money.
Okay, so if we could get together for 15 or 20 minutes and I could show you how we could actually handle the entire process for you and net you the same amount of money or more, would you keep an open mind to that?
How would you be able to net me more money?
Well, I'm glad that you asked, sir. And when we get together, the first thing that we'll do is we'll go through those numbers. So will 4 o'clock still be okay?
Well, I'm interviewing another agent at 4 o'clock. You can come after at like 5, maybe.
Perfect. Look forward to seeing you then.
Now, remember, you guys, this is typically the call after I believe there was an appointment made. So that's okay. That's okay that you took that tack, Brian. And what did you learn? What did he demonstrate there? What did Corey demonstrate that probably we need to make note of and make sure we do not do? I mean, he did something right. However, go ahead.
He didn't fold. He stayed calm.
That's one. What else?
He didn't handle the objection on the phone.
Everybody write that down. Get in front of them. Don't attempt to go through commission and all the other stuff. And again, what he wanted to say, the thing that I would say, I shouted it out, Corey, you didn't hear it. You could have used the unassisted. Oh, so you're thinking about going unassisted, right? And you know what? Well, then he asked you, why should I, that's what I wanted to show you. So he basically just let it roll off his back and said, I'm available at 4. And they said, well, I can't do it at 4. I'm interviewing somebody 4 out of 5. Now, did Corey then win that discussion? That's an absolute yes. Do not feel like you have to handle all of those objections on the phone because I don't think it'll ever stop. So nice job, Brian. All right, who else wants to throw a curveball at him? John, you've got something up your sleeve. Come on.
I'm just sitting here taking notes and it's really interesting, Denny, that he follows the same process every time. You guys may or may not know Corey and I are in the same office, and this is exactly how his conversations go, no matter who he's on the phone with. So, but yeah, let's have some fun with it. Let's see if we can stump him. Stump the chump.
Well, call on somebody, John.
I just thought you were going to have Corey call me.
Well, let me before we do that, can I just, Denny, is that all your points? Because there's one point on here that I'm hoping everybody gets, and you got a lot of them. But can I say something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So question number 5 for me was, hey, Jeff, when I see you, how much do you want to list your home for? Right. And he was like, well, they're 575 to 650. And I'm really kind of hoping for the upper end of that. Right. And so I said, okay, cool. And then I said, as a professional real estate agent, I study homes and prices every single solitary day. Therefore, I'll assume you'll list with me at a price that will cause your home to sell, not sit on the market. Correct? He said, yes. And then I said, what price won't you go below? And he basically told me 600,000. Right. What did I do before I ever even got to the house, ladies and gentlemen?
Gave an offer at 585.
That, right? And I established, I got a $50,000, almost $65,000 price adjustment before I ever even knocked on his door.
Interesting.
That's correct.
All right.
So now you can try to stump me, John, or I should say you can stump me because, right, I'm here to learn too. So.
Listen, I'm not even sure where this is going to go, but let's have some fun with it.
Well, again, remember now, if you're going to change the scenario, the appointment's already set. This is the call to confirm and to elaborate on it. So is that where you're coming in?
Well, do you want to do it in that point, Corey? Or do you want to do it?
Sure. Yeah. Let's stay with that. I'm sure you guys have plenty of people doing FSBOs and expireds and all that stuff. So sure.
Okay. So this is the follow-up call.
Okay. So this is the follow-up call. And am I supposed to am I starting again? I don't, what is this over at 2 o'clock?
No, just where do you want him to start, John?
Let's start at confirming the appointment.
Okay, go.
Okay. So hey, John, it's Corey Lauer from Keller Williams. You got a minute for me?
Yeah, Corey, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Hey, as I mentioned before yesterday, there's a number of questions that I need to ask so I can be completely prepared for our appointment. Do you have 10 minutes for me, John?
Yeah, I do. Corey, it's interesting that you called because I just got off the phone with the other agent that I was going to meet with, and I'm really inclined to go with him because, frankly, he's going to save me. In the case of my house, he's going to save me about $15,000.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is this other agent is some way or another, he's going to save you $15,000 in, is it commission, John, or?
Yeah, that's really where it comes down to. I mean, he's talking about taking the listing at a significantly reduced amount. Obviously, this market now is really hot, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to find a buyer today.
Sure. I'm curious, John, what price are you considering going on the market for?
700.
700,000. Okay. And you said that this agent is willing to reduce his commission substantially, basically?
Yep.
Yeah. How much do you owe on the property, John?
I've got a very small mortgage on it.
Okay. 100,000?
Just shy of 200.
Okay. So you got a $200,000 mortgage, which means in essence, you got about $500,000 in equity. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what concerns me about this agent, John, that's already just dropping, the value of himself to you. Sometimes maybe he hasn't even met you yet. I mean, if he's gonna be willing to just reduce the value of his commission just like that, imagine what he's gonna do, John, when someone comes in and tries to lowball you on your home. I mean, if he's not strong enough to stand up to you with regards to his own worth, how strong do you think he's gonna be when it comes to the equity in your home?
Yeah, Corey, I thought about that, and the bottom line is that everybody is getting multiple offers. We talked about that the other day. And we're going to end up in a situation where we got 3, 4, 5 people on there. $15,000 is a lot of money, Corey.
How would you feel if I could put more in?
I 100% agree, John. But at the end of the day, everyone can put their house on the market and probably end up with 5 or 6 offers. But how many agents can actually get you through to the closing table?
So I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
Hang on. Why are we doing this on the phone, Corey?
Mm-hmm.
Close for the appointment.
I'm doing it on the phone because I'm competitive. I'm not going to let John beat me on national television. But you're right. You're right.
So all right. So
no.
So then how would somebody? Well, I'll let somebody else play. So again, I don't mean to criticize a fellow professional. I'm just saying for these guys.
I'm here to learn, Denny. Please teach me. I'm here to learn.
So for example, I say, so it sounds like you're looking for the best deal, John. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, and knowing Denny's sidebar, I know where his next question is going to be. Really, Denny, it comes down to putting the most money in my pocket.
Awesome. Well, that's why I want to meet. So is 15 minutes worth $15,000 extra in your pocket? I'm available at 3, or is 4 better?
Good.
Yep.
Now,
that's kind of the guy that I was hoping was going to go down. Is you can't say no to that. $1,000 a minute. You can't say no to that.
I always like to ask them whenever they do the commission or a better deal or whatever. I always ask them, say, just so I understand, what's most important to you, the brokerage fee or what you net? Okay, so if I can show you a way to net not just a little bit more, but significantly more than this other agent, would you be interested?
Yes, and. Go ahead. Somebody else has something to say. I want to share something here first. T, I don't know if T is still on the call. T is part of our team. And for the last year and a half, we've been role playing 4 days a week, and she's been on it. And I have been saying, and I got many regulars on the call right now. She said something that was very profound to me. It's kind of like reminded me that my parents kept telling me something and I didn't hear it for years. And all of a sudden I figured out, I understand what you're saying now. And that is we're free. We are free to a seller. T, are you on still? Will you unmute yourself and explain what you said to me? Because it was so.
Denny, I don't think she's on.
Okay. Well, shame on you, T. She finally got to the point because she was locked in on the 5% or 6% that they're paying. And she finally understood that if they work with a professional agent, particularly if they're going to go, if they're selling unassisted, they're going to pay 2% or 3% to the buyer's agent, which is most likely. They're going through all of this work in order to basically save 2 or 3%. And can you articulate your value proposition in small enough chunks to help everybody understand that it is that you are basically free? And if you don't understand that, then we should talk about it, because that is the mindset. That is, we are free. Does anyone want to push back on that?
You ever paid for a lawsuit?
Say that?
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was unmuted, Denny. So I always, I love the overcoming the objections with the for sale by owners and all that. And I always joke with them sometimes. They're like, well, I'll net more without you. And I said, yeah, well, I have a surgeon analogy that I use. And then I ask them, hey, have you ever paid for a lawsuit? And they're like, well, no. I say, do you know how much that costs? No. A little bit more than your house. If I could show you a way to avoid that, would you be interested? And then I just close it. It's a funny thing. And then I always ask them, because they'll say, well, I could save money without using an agent. I said, you could. Have you ever had surgery, you or anybody else in your family? And they'll say, yeah. And I'll say, well, if you could save a little money by doing that surgery, would you try it? And they'll say, no. Right. So, while we're not doing real surgery, this is financial surgery, and it's a huge decision. So do you think it would benefit you to have somebody to walk you through this process that's done it 5,000 times?
Yeah. This time is just like that time. Can I explain? Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you guys just make sure you have that conversation at the table. And that's awesome, Matt. Thanks for that. So where would we like to take it now? So let's go ahead. We've got time for another role play or two. Who wants to step up? And we'll do a potluck, and you can pick what you want. In fact, I'll probably let John and Corey and Sonny, you guys can close. I've got to go to my meeting now. So I appreciate you guys. And what we're going to be doing, watch your email. It looks like we're going to be moving this call to Thursday, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock for the balance of this year. Because of my bold, I'm teaching bold in New York. And it's kind of a challenge for me to get here and whatever. So check your email on that. I think we're going to be moving it starting next week to Thursday. So I appreciate it. Corey, you're awesome. Thanks for being on. And
thanks for having me, Denny.
Don't go away. We've got 10 minutes yet to go, and it'll be awesome. I just got to pop off. Love you, mean it, guys. See you.
Just as Denny's done complimenting T, she comes back on.
I know. So who wants to do any seller objections with Corey right now?
So I have a objection / question.
Okay.
So, that value proposition, I always struggle with that a little bit, determining so what do you say when they're like, you're showing how you can net more money, and they say, well, the other agent's going to do all that too for less commission.
Well, I think because I've asked some of the appropriate questions, and I know that I'm going up against Drew Sawerski. Maybe Drew Sawerski's list price to sales price ratio is substantially less than mine by 4 or 5%. Then I could demonstrate where I could make up the difference. Right. Another question that I'll make sure that I mention either on the pre-qual or in conversation is, hey Jeff, is there anything that the other agent mentioned that they would be doing that I simply have forgot to mention? Because we do so many things, and sometimes you forget. And if using one of those Matterport tours is like the thing that sealed the deal with you, then okay, cool. I'll do that too. Does that answer your question?
Somewhat. I mean, I think it's more showing what are you actually doing different? You know, someone says, I'm going to save you 15 grand. How are you going to get me 15 grand more? That's.
Well, I mean, there's so many different things that can play out during the course of the setting appointment, the pre-qual and the actual listing appointment, because at this point, we don't know what that other agent told him as far as price or anything. So sometimes you're negotiating against a number that you don't even know what that is. I mean, I'm pretty damn good at pricing property. That's not right. I'm not telling you that to impress you, but I've been doing this a long time and I feel pretty confident in that. And so if that other agent's off 5 or 10 grand, or they're not, riding the market, I've got all the confidence in the world that I can eke out a few $1,000s just on which way the market's going.
Why wouldn't you bring a list of the stuff you are planning on doing, your marketing? Because I get the feeling that you didn't have the list. I'm just talking about the presentation. You didn't have a list, so you're asking the seller, well, what did that age? Is he going to do a video or whatever? I can do the same. And as a seller, that would say to me, well, it seems like you want to do whatever this other agent is doing, so you can get the listing. No offense to you, Corey. I'm just kind of role playing, right?
I love it.
So I would have a standard list of everything every agent do. And then probably the extra, for instance, for myself, I'm on 2 MLS, which covers the whole of Ontario. So then I would show that not all agents are on there. The exposure is so much more, things like that, little things, I just think.
Crystal, do you recall down there towards the end of my presentation or my pre-qual script, I said to Jeff, hey, Jeff, before I come over, I'm going to send you a packet of information. Will you take a few minutes and look at it? And he said yes.
Your pre-list.
Right?
Yes.
But he didn't ask me what was in it.
Yeah.
And guess what's in it, Crystal? All the stuff I do.
Which is great.
Right? Because then when I know that he's received the packet, and then I call him back on Thursday and say, hey, Jeff, it's Corey. I just want to make sure that you got the packet of information. Have you gotten a chance to take a look at it? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have, Corey. And, and then he might give me an objection or two, but I've already got that information in there. I mean,
wonderful. Yeah. And Corey, do you add the CME into that pre-list packet?
A very, very small, maybe like in our market, it's called like a 3-up, and then I'm super, super not fancy. Anybody in my market center knows that. Like my CMA consists of MLS sheets printed sideways so the pictures are bigger, because our demographic's a little older and I want them to be able to see the pictures a little clearer. And then I'm highlighting with a highlighter and circling with a pen the stuff that I think is important, right? Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, the seller wants to know how much,
correct,
how long, and what you're going to do.
Yes.
Outside of that, maybe I'm wrong, right? Some people are super fluffy and they want, to present all this information. That's just not me.
No, I agree with you. Those are the most important thing to them. How, what they're going to net and how soon you're going to sell it and what are you going to do. I agree with you.
Yeah, I'll put like a price range, like, okay, your house is going to sell between 400 and 425,000, and maybe I'll write a little note on there, looking forward to seeing your house and finding as much value as I possibly can. And then if I called you back, Crystal, and said, hey, just making sure that we're still on for Friday at 5, you took a look at the information, you might say, well, Corey, hold on a second here. Your market analysis alludes to the fact that you think I'm only going to be able to sell between 400 and 425,000, right? Then I know I've got a little bit of a pricing battle when I come over. So I'm going to say, hey, Crystal, I understand your concern. And as you know, Crystal, you and I don't set the market. The buyer sets the market. And based on your home, this is what a buyer's been willing to pay for your home. But I promise you this, Crystal, when I get there, I'll do everything I possibly can to find as much value in your home as I possibly can. Fair enough?
Correct.
Awesome. I look forward to seeing you Friday.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who else has another question? We have 5 minutes.
Hey, Corey, so pretty much all those scripts, and I have an account with my Ferry also, like, it's just from the website, straight from the website.
I'm sorry, you said you have all the scripts?
Yeah, I'm saying the script that you're looking over, it's from the My Ferry website.
Yeah, I was in
Brian,
my
if you want to
coaching
put
for
your
a really long time.
Brian and whoever, if you guys want to put your email in the chat, I'll send you the exact script he's using if you guys want to do that.
Yeah, it's there now, right, Stacey? Did you?
Yeah, I uploaded it into the chat, so you can just click on it. It's a PDF.
You know, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when I started to prospect in my career, I hired, you know, the Mike Ferry organization to teach me how to do that, right? And so it took me long enough to memorize and internalize those scripts. I'm sure, you know, my advice to anyone that's not being consistent with their scripts, and I doubt that's anybody on this call, is just pick some and stick with those, right? Memorize and internalize one set, and then it's just easier that way.
Quick question. So this is not regarding sellers, but how do you keep a buyer engaged when you can't find what they're looking for?
Oh, you'd have to ask someone that works with buyers.
John
McLeod, what you got, buddy?
All right, Whitney, what sort of engagement problems are you having?
I'm in San Diego. Inventory is super low. My client's looking up to 1.5 million, wants an ocean view. It is slim pickings, like.
Hard listings.
Listen, I would think that the farther away and the higher up from San Diego you get, the better chances of getting an ocean view for less money, right?
He's in a certain area on the coastline where he doesn't want to be 3 miles back. He's like, I want an unobstructed view. There's things, but I'm like, how do I keep myself from burning out and keep him engaged? I know he's a solid buyer. I just sold 2 of his houses, but now we're like, can't.
So one of the challenges that you're going to have is and we're all facing it. Doesn't matter whether you're in Southern Cal, Southwest Florida, or Canada. We have an inventory shortage, right? So what the question is going to come down to is, what are his expectations? Is he expecting to get a $2 million house for $1.5 million?
Well, so this is funny. I know he has money, so I went wide. I was like, oh, you know what? Let's bring it up to 2 mil and see what we can find. It really just comes down to the view, but he's open to, I was like, hey, well, what if you're in your kitchen and you're 2 miles away, but you can see the ocean? Like, is that okay? I'm like, do you want to be able to walk to the ocean, or do you just need to see the ocean? Or I've kind of gone through all that where he's open. I just can't seem to find anything that's
so
clear ocean views.
Let's pretend you're the buyer. Okay. So Whitney, I appreciate that. And you want to be in that $1.5 million range. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's at least start with finding the perfect property for you. The price doesn't matter. And if price comes in at 700,000, that's awesome. If it comes in at 3 million, well, you're going to cringe, but at least let's find the perfect property. And then we can make a decision at what point are we going to sacrifice something to be able to adopt. So what becomes really what's more important to you. When you see the view, you might say to me, you know, good God, John, I really want that. I know it's $2.5 million. I'll spend it. And you might say, you know what, John, I just don't want to spend that kind of money. I will sacrifice what I thought was the most important. He keeps telling you the view is the most important. You have to show him exactly what he wants.
So I've showed him a bunch of properties, not a bunch, not gonna lie. I showed him a few, and one would have been perfect, but there was a building obstructing half the view. So he's like, oh, that sucks. But then I took him further out where he's like, oh yeah. He's like, but oh, the highway runs through it.
I hate to interrupt you, but I know Corey's on here, and I just really want to respect his time because he did stay on longer. This is definitely something that we can pick up. I just really wanted to thank Corey for taking time away from his business and his family to share and pour into all of us. So thank you so much, Corey and Whitney.
My pleasure.
We'll either do this next week, or you and John call each other. Thank you so much, Corey.
May I say one more thing?
Yeah, Corey, go ahead.
Real quick. Whitney, this person's trying to buy a single family home. Yeah.
Here's the thing. He's so flexible. He's
Okay,
single family,
so-
he's condo.
Okay, so are you calling through condo buildings? Are you calling through single family homes saying, hey, this is Whitney from whatever brokerage you are? You know, I've got a buyer that is ready, willing, and able to purchase a home, and I'm not sure if you know that the market's up 40% in the last 9 months. You know, would you consider selling? Right. And then you not only would you work a buyer, you could get the seller side as well. Right. So my answer to everything is prospecting. Right. I don't work a whole lot of buyers. My mom, my dad, some family members, that's about it. But if you're that starved for inventory, one of the most awesome calls in the world to make is to be calling through neighborhoods, telling them the great news about the market. Hey, look, we just sold this home on 123 Main Street. And these are the 9 people, you've got 9 contracts in your hand. These are the 9 people that lost. How awesome would it be if we could get you more than you could possibly imagine for your home? It's that same sort of thing. You've got a bona fide buyer that's ready to stroke a check.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm a circle prospector.
Yeah, you want 6% of 3 million, not 3% of 3 million.
And that's
Right?
why you're a superstar, Corey.
Oh, I don't know about that, right? I need
Thank
to take some of
you.
my own medicine.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
Have a great day.
Thanks for having me. All right, bye-bye.